Now, I'm not going to take you through the characterization of the storyline. In fact, I'm not even going to refer to Barbie as a movie, because it is not a movie. It is a cartoon. A live-action cartoon, perhaps, but a cartoon nonetheless. And that means that there is no characterization and no storyline. There are only caricatures in an array of overly simplistic scenarios. Grotesquely distorted caricatures in childishly stupid scenarios at that. Think about it. You don't have any kind of character building in an episode of Tom and Jerry. You just have a cat chasing a mouse in various simple scenarios, with a bit of slapstick comedy thrown in for good measure. Similarly for the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. They don't have backstories, and nobody cares. The difference between the likes of Tom and Jerry and Barbie is that Tom and Jerry has no political backdrop or message, whereas this movie is extraordinarily overt in this regard. If this cartoon is setting out to portray a genuine feminist message, then I think it misses the mark by a considerable margin. I found myself laughing all the way through this cartoon, not because the jokes were funny, because they were tedious and cheesy, but because I was aghast with horror at how much the movie was openly mocking the utterly absurd and moronic ideas and ideology of modern-day feminism. If that was the intention, then this is a work of brave comedic genius, but I don't think that Greta Gerwig is either brave enough or intelligent enough to pull that off. And having seen the recent pathetic attempts at humour from Hollywood writers, I think we all know that this comedy was inadvertent. There's a bit in it towards the end where America Ferrera is talking at length about all the problems with being a woman, and the whole time I was thinking, those problems are endemic to the entire human race, not just women. The difference is that men don't whine on about it all the time. We just get on with life, and the reason for that is no one gives the remotest shit about men's problems. A point that is repeatedly rammed home by this cartoon like an over-exuberant porn star. Towards the end, the Barbies hatch a plan to manipulate the men into fighting each other by stroking their egos to make them fall in love, and then callously tossing their hearts into the fire with the kind of gleeful laughter that only a sadistic psychopath would enjoy. This, by the way, is something that only works on boys or men with no experience of women. The rest of us know you do this. But for the record, if you want to understand why Andrew Tate is so popular with boys and men right now, then whilst you're applauding or doing things like this, you need only look in the mirror, girls. This whole cartoon was like watching an episode of Just Pearly Things or the Whatever podcast. And you only have to watch one episode, by the way, because once you've seen one, you've seen them all. What they'll do is they'll have some girls on who are vehemently stating their case about how they're strong, independent women who can achieve anything they want, while simultaneously stating that they are also victims of oppression at the hands of men through the patriarchy. Now, even a person with an IQ of 50 is going to have some questions over the incongruous nature of this position. Like, for example, what? That doesn't make any sense. Now, a person of higher mental faculty might make a witticism such as, is this Schrodinger's feminism you're talking about? And someone of higher intellect and diplomacy still may ask a question such as, how? How are you being oppressed? What are the mechanisms and processes through which this oppression is being applied? I can tell you, I have yet to hear even a single answer from a woman on the methods by which women are being oppressed by men, let alone a good answer. I'll typically hear some nonsense about how CEOs are all men, etc. Well, three things, girls. Firstly, that's a result, not a process. Secondly, CEOs are a tiny proportion of all jobs available, which means that almost no one is a CEO. Finally, almost all the biggest companies in the world were started in the last 30 years or so. There is nothing that I can see that is preventing women from starting a company, coming up with a brilliant idea, and then spending 5 to 10 years working 18 or 19-hour days selling that idea to the world and building the company to the biggest size possible. Well, nothing apart from that last thing. Everyone wants to be a CEO with the accompanying pay package. Almost no one wants to do the 5 to 10 years of having no life at all. Anyway, Barbie wasn't a complete horror show. I will say that the song Just Ken was pretty good. It's done in the mould of a rock musical number, and I have to admit that those types of cheesy songs are a guilty pleasure of mine. As I say those words, I'm starting to realise why gay guys keep hitting on me. And this song is a tiny moment of empathy for men in this cartoon that shows a man trying to come to terms with his unrequited love for Barbie and struggling to discover who he really is. Which is nice, because up until then, he'd been really quite a pathetic excuse for a man, the kind of man only a woman would write with any sincerity. Ryan Gosling's acting is also great, because he is acting like an overactor, and, having seen him in many great movies such as The Big Short, La La Land and, of course, Blade Runner, I can only imagine how difficult that was for him. Well, Ryan, I hope the paycheck was worth it, because I have a horrible feeling this is how you're going to be remembered. Finally, I will say that the speech at the end from Ruth Adler, played by Rael Perlman of Cheers fame, to Barbie, was actually pretty good, and a tacit acknowledgement that feminism's current ideas and ideology is made up bullshit to describe a complex world with complex dynamics. But therein lies the rub, as we used to say. This cartoon is similar to a movie like Freddy vs. Jason, which was, in the same way, making fun of horror movies with its over-the-top usage of horror caricatures, tropes and clichés. But the problem is, you have to be an adult to understand that sort of humour. If I were to take my kids to watch it, I think that they would take it seriously and be horrified, if not genuinely terrified, by that movie, whilst I would be laughing the entire way through. I would not take my kids to watch Freddy vs. Jason, or indeed Barbie, and I cannot advise strongly enough that you should not take your kids to watch Barbie either. Unfortunately, what we have here is a cartoon that is specifically targeted at children and teenagers, which is the exact demographic that will probably not understand what they are really watching. Now I have a horrible feeling that this cartoon is going to do very well, and that should worry everyone, because it will only serve to encourage Hollywood to make a boatload more cartoons just like this. Now I'm concerned that young girls will go away from this genuinely thinking that men hate them, and genuinely believing that men run the world, a notion that can only be held by people who've never been married. And as a result, they will blame men and boys for all the problems that they encounter in life. Which is sad, because if they really do want to even have a tiny chance of achieving their goals and dreams in life, then what they will actually have to do is stop blaming other people for their problems and instead take responsibility for their own decisions, their own actions and their own lives, just like men have to do. Night. Now, if you like that, then please like, subscribe and press the notification button. I got plenty more where that came from. And if you didn't like it, then subscribe and press notify anyway. Otherwise, I won't take away your bins this week. And then what you going to do?